So, let's get this straight. Chelsea have spent over £200 million on two of the most hyped midfielders in world football, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, and yet, almost 2 seasons later, we're still asking the same question. Why does this midfield not work? How did two record signings, one a World Cup winner and the other a £115 million Premier League record breaker, look ordinary together? Worse still, why do they sometimes get dominated by smaller teams? Something isn't clicking. And here's the wild part. Chelsea fans aren't even asking if they'll improve anymore. They're asking if one of them has to go. Let's start with the obvious. Caicedo has been fine. More than fine, actually. He's been superb. By the end of last season, he was Chelsea's player of the season. He won tackles, he covered every blade of grass, he protected the back four when everything else around him was collapsing. He's consistent, he's reliable, he's the midfielder you can trust in a cage fight. But Enzo Fernandez? That's where the problem lies. When Enzo signed in January 2023, he came with the glow of Argentina's World Cup triumph, a midfield metronome, a deep-lying playmaker who could supposedly dictate games in the way Luka Modric or Xavi once did. But in England, it hasn't looked that way. He struggles to control the tempo. He can't consistently resist the press. His defensive numbers are poor compared to other midfielders in the league, and when Chelsea come up against physical, hard-running midfields, he gets overrun. Sure, he pops up with the odd goal, sure, he makes late runs into the box, but if all you're doing is scoring a few goals here and there, you're not doing the heavy midfield lifting. Chelsea didn't pay £107 million for a luxury box crasher, they paid it for a conductor. And so far, the orchestra has been out of tune. 2 seasons gone, still no control, still no dominance, still the same excuses. So if Chelsea want to build a midfield that can actually compete with Arsenal, Liverpool and City, something has to change. And between Enzo and Caicedo, let's be real, it can't be Moises who gets dropped. Look at what Caicedo brings. Ball winner supreme. He was top 3 in the league last year for tackles and interceptions combined. Press resistance. He takes the ball under pressure and keeps it moving. Consistency. Game after game, he's a 7 or an 8 out of 10, even when Chelsea are poor. Mentality. Humble, hard-working, never hides. That's why Brighton fought so hard to keep him. That's why Arsenal were desperate to sign him. That's why Chelsea smashed the British transfer record. And the scary thing, he's still only 22. In other words, you don't build Chelsea's midfield without Moises Caicedo, you build it around him. And here's where the story gets interesting, because Chelsea might already have the missing piece sitting in their squad. Andre Santos, remember the name. The Brazilian teenager was signed from Vasco da Gama with big hype, but Chelsea sent him on loan to Strasbourg to gain experience. And what happened there? He didn't just play well, he thrived. He captained them, he scored goals from midfield, he showed maturity beyond his years. And he came back looking like a player ready to slot straight into Chelsea's 11. Now let's break down what Andre Santos actually brings. 1. Versatility. He can sit deep as a number 6, but he's equally comfortable as a number 8. Composure. For a 20-year-old, he plays with the calmness of a veteran, doesn't panic under pressure. Ball circulation. He passes clean, simple, but progressive, keeps the game flowing. Goal threat. Unlike Enzo, who flatters to deceive, Santos has that knack of arriving late in the box. He scores, he contributes. Leadership. Yes, he's young, but he's already captained his side in Ligue 1. That says everything about his mentality. This isn't some raw kid who needs 3 seasons of loans. This is someone ready to start games now. Why Santos and Caicedo will work. Football is about balance, and if you study Chelsea over the last 2 years, the biggest problem has been a lack of balance in midfield. 2 ball players in Enzo and Caicedo doesn't work. Neither knows whether to sit or push. 2 destroyers like Caicedo and Lavia, too defensive, no progression. But Santos and Caicedo, that's balance. That's power and elegance, bite and composure, defense and attack. Picture it. Caicedo sits deep, sweeping up danger, snapping into tackles, covering the back 4. Santos plays slightly ahead, linking midfield to attack, carrying the ball forward, making runs into the box. Suddenly, Chelsea have a midfield that doesn't just hold, it hurts. A midfield that wins the ball and actually knows what to do with it after. Think about how City balanced Rodri with Kevin De Bruyne, or how Liverpool once had Fabinho behind Henderson and Wijnaldum back then. That's what Chelsea have been missing, and that's exactly what Santos and Caicedo can become. This isn't personal. Nobody doubts Enzo's talent, but sometimes football is about fit, not just ability. And right now, Enzo doesn't fit. He slows Chelsea down when he should speed them up. He drifts forward when he's supposed to hold. He gives the ball away in areas that hurt. And for every beautiful diagonal pass, there are 10 moments when he loses the midfield battle. If Chelsea are serious about competing for the Premier League, they can't afford passengers. They need a midfield that scares teams, that bullies teams, that controls games. And as harsh as it sounds, that midfield doesn't include Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Maresca has been searching for solutions. He wants control, he wants balance, he wants energy. And the answer might be staring him in the face. A midfield pivot of Santos plus Caicedo gives him everything: defensive stability, ball progression, physical dominance, youth and energy, long-term potential. It's not just about surviving games anymore. With these 2, Chelsea can finally start dominating them. And remember, both are under 23. This isn't a short-term patch. This is a midfield partnership that could define Chelsea for the next 5 to 7 years, a foundation to build titles on. For 2 seasons, Chelsea fans have been patient. They've watched 2 £100 million midfielders fail to click. They've celebrated the odd trophy, a Conference League, a Club World Cup, but deep down, they know this team isn't ready to compete with the very best. But that can change, because in Moises Caicedo, they already have the Premier League's most consistent ball winner, and in Andre Santos, they might just have the perfect partner, a young Brazilian who brings everything Enzo doesn't. Chelsea's midfield has looked broken for 2 years, but give it a few months, let Santos and Caicedo grow together, and we might be talking about something else entirely. Not just balance, not just chemistry, but the kind of midfield that's impregnable.